Well, it is an interesting night. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Hockey Now PHN Penguins postgame show. I'm Dan Kingerski. We've got a little setup going here, but it's a little bit tricky. So bear with me here. Not everything is working quite the way I expected. Some of the equipment that arrived. We're going to do this up a little bit. I even bought a little flower. Little flower back there, just for you all. We're going to talk about the Penguins' 3-2 overtime loss, of course, working backwards from the Chris Letang, Vincent Trocheck penalty in overtime. The penalty late in regulation, too many men, I thought was every bit as ghastly as Letang's penalty. And if you follow me on Twitter at the Dan Kingerski, I was kind of breaking down the game as it went along, and I think the Penguins' post-game comments really echoed what I was maybe telling you on Twitter, and that is that the Penguins stopped doing what made them successful in the first period. The Penguins stopped doing what got them a 2-0 lead, and they began to try to be pretty. That whole prettiness and the turnovers all came roaring back to begin the second period. Of course, you knew Carolina would push back. I mean, you're not going to beat two great teams soundly in two consecutive nights. I mean, what the Penguins did to Tampa Bay on Thursday night was really impressive. That's not going to happen two nights in a row. The other team is going to push back. The Penguins' answer to the Carolina pushback was to try to out-pretty them, try to show them how good they were. With that 2-goal lead, they felt like they had house money, perhaps. And a lot of that went, straight down the drain. Let me jump here onto thy Facebook page. Do me a favor, give us a like. Also, give us a follow as I'm now jumping into, make sure this is all muted. La, la, la. And there we go. So, Jamie says, what up, DK? Hey, Jamie, how are you? Dumo looks like he's regressing each game. Man, Matt, if you're hopping in and your first comment is about Brian Dumoulin, man, I don't know. I didn't see Dumoulin do anything wrong on Friday night. I can't say looking back, and let me check the stats here. Maybe he had like 15 turnovers that I missed. That's happened before, right? And my glasses I put my thumb on my glasses so I can't see through them. No, Brian Dumoulin, couple hits, no shot attempts. I mean, look, the Penguins had 24 shots overall. I certainly didn't think Dumoulin was any sort of an issue there. Let me move this over here so I can more easily see it. We are... I'm a single camera setup tonight. I probably could go to a second one. Okay, that's the camera that's working. It's been crazy. I was actually set up 20 minutes ago, believe it or not. So let's just dive into this here. Let's talk about the Chris Letang penalty, because I know that's who you all want to talk about. Where's my Letang photo? Not everything transferred over as I began the show. So we'll put that up. Listen, okay? In all blunt force honesty, where's my camera? There's my camera. Okay, in all blunt force honesty here, Chris Letang was wrong. He should have known better. When you put the game in the officials' hands, you can't be upset when you get lemons. And Letang did that. Look, Trocheck and Letang both got a couple whacks in. The official kind of reaches his point where, okay, I've let them go. It was Letang that took the next couple of shots. He gets the penalty. I cringe when I hear media ask Mike Sullivan, could they have called both penalties? Of course they could have. Of course the officials could have called both Trocheck and Letang. But you put that decision in their hands. And I'm explaining this to you not from a Penguins fan perspective. I'm explaining this to you from the the hockey perspective. You know how this works, right? Deep down, you don't want to admit it, but you know how this works. When you take the extra whack, you get the penalty. And yes, it's unfortunate that the Penguins got to overtime and the game was decided in that manner, but it's not unfortunate when it's by your own hand that you lose. And I thought the Penguins lost by their own hand. Now, let's get into the breakdown here just a little bit. There he is. That's Kasperi Kapanen, who was pretty good in the first period, and then not very good in the second and third periods. Kapanen's game really mirrored the rest of the Penguins' game. Let me make sure here. Kapanen, yeah, look, the turnovers, the failing to get pucks deep, it was kind of there's the bad Kapanen, like almost immediately as the second period started, much like many of the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't know what happened to start the second period. Here's what they really didn't do. And if you want to say, okay, well, if they had done this or that, they would have won the game. They stopped getting the puck deep. They tried to play controlled zone entry. Carolina was on their toes in the second period. Carolina clogged up the offensive zone. They were going to counterattack the Penguins, and the Penguins just steered into the teeth of it. The Penguins didn't make that extra little chip. They were trying to make the extra little pass. Well, that went right back the other way. That's how it works. And I would have expected by later in the second period the Penguins to have adjusted, but they really didn't. They were outshot in regulation. What was it, 38 to 21? Let me double check my math here. 18-23 the Penguins had in regulation. 27-38. So 38 to 23 the Penguins were outshot. And the Penguins had a total of 14 shots in the final two periods. 13 shots in the final two periods. That's not good enough. That's not going to win you a hockey game against the Carolina Hurricanes. If you want to begin circling things, and if you want to begin to extrapolate this Penguins team to the postseason, you saw the very best of them on Thursday night. You saw what the Penguins are capable of because they didn't stop playing hard in the corners. They didn't stop going behind the net. They didn't stop making the Tampa Bay Lightning defense turn and face them coming deep into the zone. The Penguins forced Tampa Bay to travel 200 feet for any offensive chance. Beginning in the second period, the Penguins allowed the Carolina Hurricanes to travel 100 feet. Do it with numbers because of turnovers. Do it with numbers because an errant pass or a takeaway or a long shot that gets kicked to the defenseman and away they go into the Carolina transition game. You know Carolina has a great transition game. All of those things being said, look at Casey DeSmith, right? If you want to talk standout performances, I thought Casey DeSmith had his third straight really strong game. I don't know the stats yet. I'll dive into those for the PHN report card. All we know is DeSmith made 36 of 38 saves in regulation. He stopped 3 of 4 in overtime. So that, drum roll please, is 39 of 42. Let me check the comments here. Keep those coming, kids. Let me share this to Twitter as well. And just let people know we are live now. Media shouldn't use players' nicknames. That just always sounds so unprofessional to me. always kind of drives me nuts when I'm, sitting there and you're crafting a question, you're trying to elicit the response you want, and you hear nicknames and pet things and avoiding issues and all of that sort of stuff. That's right. That's what I was doing here. Let me get back to the comments section. Okay. Matthew says, Letang, a beast, refs were awful. I mean, a punch to the head. Yeah, look. Trocheck punched Letang. Letang whacked him. No penalties called. That's the important part that I'm trying to stress to you, Matthew. They each got some free whacks in. It was the extra couple whacks then. And Trocheck just sort of like, yeah, dummy, I got you. That's how it goes, right? Gaming with Geo, listening to the Carolina broadcast, they were talking about how whoever they have on Malkin is shutting him down. I don't know if Carolina shut him down or if the Penguins team game so thoroughly collapsed that Malkin was simply a part of it. I would look at the big picture on that. Any winger can pick them up. Even the Crosby line was not getting in deep. They were not pressuring Carolina like a couple of weeks ago when the Penguins lost 4-3 at PPG. Carolina couldn't stop the Crosby line. They shut down everybody else, but they couldn't stop the Crosby line. So, Gio, I don't know that I would say, I don't know I would agree with the Carolina broadcast that, in fact, they shut down Malkin. I think the Penguins shut themselves down. They really had to begin to grind, and I thought without D'Angelo and without Brendan Smith, I thought Carolina's defense was kind of ripe for the picking, and like it was in the first period. I think the Penguins gave this one away, and I think they'll go back to the film room, be it tomorrow or Sunday. Probably have tomorrow off, but when Sullivan sits down, he's going to seethe a little bit because it's not about the penalty to Letang. It's all about what the Penguins didn't do for 40 minutes through the second and third periods. Let's see here. Matt loves the Most High. Matt, I'm not sure what that name means. I don't think I'm going to ask you either. Any validity to the JT Miller trade rumors? What JT Miller trade rumors would those be, Matt? I don't know. Listen, our reporter, Rob Simpson, in Vancouver, has been all over that. He had an exclusive one-on-one sit-down with Miller. Today is what, Friday? Yeah, so yesterday, Thursday, Simpson sits down with Miller. Miller was pretty adamant. BS is what he called them. Said, no one's approached me. No one's even come close to approaching me. Everything that Simmer has been told in Vancouver is, here's the deal. Vancouver's not going to trade JT Miller unless somebody comes to them with a holy crap package. And in that case, any player in the league is fair game, right? Vancouver is keeping JT Miller. It's the other forwards. In fact, Pierre LeBrun also reported that the bar is set so high on JT Miller, it's essentially like a no thank you. So if you're getting any JT Miller rumors, it's from these crappy blogs that just throw stuff out there, and they make like $10,000 this month. I mean, they just rake in millions of hits because they're anonymous. They get to put anything they want out there. Hopefully I've debunked that now. Go to Vancouver Hockey Now. In fact, let me check here. In fact, I'm going to post this article for you. Give me a second here. This was exclusive to Vancouver Hockey Now. I mean, this is just kind of a rolling thing here. If you want to talk trade deadline, we can dive into that a little bit too. I think Casey DeSmith, because of the upward trend since mid-January, has probably put to rest any questions about getting a backup goalie. Of course, if the Penguin, one happens to fall in the Penguins' lap that is Far superior, of course, you always take that kind of trade. But in terms of spending resources, spending time and treasure to go get one, I think Ron Hextall can breathe quite a bit easier after the last handful of games from Casey DeSmith. So I think we can put that to bed. In fact, you know what? I didn't tell you. Here's a name to circle. All right? And if I see this in the blogs, I'm going to know that you were on here. There's whispers. Hey, I'm hearing the Penguins are chasing this guy. I'm hearing the Penguins. And you're never sure if one person is spreading it to a bunch of your sources or if a bunch of your sources have it from the main source. So I take this with just a little bit of salt at the moment. But the chatter is that the Penguins are kicking tires on Zach Sanford of the Ottawa Senators. Sanford, of course, one of the heroes of the 2019 St. Louis Blues Stanley Cup run. Not a heavyweight, but he can thump and he can drop, and he can. And you can debate if that's what the Penguins really need or not. I'm just telling you, that's what's out there, that the Penguins have kicked the tires on him. So there's your little tidbit for joining the show. Get Nick Delorier so he can fight Vincent Trocheck. Yeah, I don't think Trocheck would drop the gloves with Delorier. I think that's one of those, hey, go fight him, not me. Did you notice at the end of the third period, Brian Boyle was taking a few whacks. Boyle wanted a piece of a few Hurricanes and didn't find any takers. Svechnikov kind of slinked away complaining to the official, and Aho got out of there pretty quick. That's just smart hockey by Boyle. He knows if he can take either of those guys with him to the penalty box, that's a winning trade for the Penguins. And of course, it's Svechnikov who scores the game winner. Anyway, the Penguins could get Jesper Bratt, interdivision trade, but I think he would mesh well with the team. You know, I was really impressed with Jesper the last couple of games with the New Jersey Devils too. Really liked the way he filled into the open ice, head up, looking for the shot. Obviously has a good shot, good speed. Wasn't afraid to get in and get after the puck. I thought he was a little bit, maybe a little bit harder version of Danton Heinen. So listen, I haven't heard that name being bandied about. I mean, is it possible? If you're the Devils, don't you want to keep him, though? I think the Devils have designs on competing for a playoff spot in 23. So any chance? Of course. So you're saying there's a chance, but I'm not going to go there. Vinny was cringe all game. What is cringe? What's that mean? I'm unfamiliar with you kids and your slang. Let's see here. Gino's line actually had some chances. I thought other three lines were outshot by more than a 2-1 margin. Let me check Natural Stat Trick here, and I can confirm or deny that. Penguins forward lines. You can tell I'm getting old. I have to do this. And I just won't wear bifocals. I'd rather do this. Okay, so Carter and Carter's line with Rodriguez. They were horribly out-attempted, 16-6, outshot 6-3, and scoring chances were a bit more even, 5-3. They did not allow a high-danger chance. So that means they're playing in their own zone, but they kept the chances to the outside. Malkin's line did out-attempt Carolina 12-7. However, they outshot them 7-4. 2 goals against, though. That's so. This is where the analytics goes horribly awry. Give me a line that gets horribly outchanced, but gives up no chances, over a line that has a few more chances but gives up 2 goals. Call me crazy. Scoring chances were 5-5 for Malkin's line, And 5-5 on the high danger chances too. Crosby's line, wow. Aho ate Crosby's lunch, cut off the crusts, and ate those in front of him too. Aho and the Carolina top line, which saw a good bit of Crosby, out-attempted Crosby, Gensel, and Rust 23-6. Outshot Crosby's line 14-4. Except Crosby's line had 2 goals. And gave up none. So I would say Crosby's line did their job, I guess. You don't want to be so buried, so pinned, so overwhelmed. But if you get the 2 goals, okay, somebody else has to pick up the slack. I really thought Brian Boyle, Aston Reese, and Simone were good in the first period. Really thought they were good in the first period. They had some moments in the third period. I would have graded them like overall probably a B+, because of their moments in the third period. And they actually had 3 high danger chances. Outchanced their opponents in Carolina 5-4, and the shots were even 4-4. You have to like that, don't you? If from your fourth line, you have to like that. I know it's a Friday night. I didn't expect too many people to roll past, but do me a favor, give me a like, give us a follow. We want to get to 1,000. Jimmy Murphy and Joe Haggerty up in Boston are going to be starting their podcast, and they just go all over the league. They were supposed to have, I haven't watched it yet or listened to it. They were supposed to have Billy Guerin and Tom Fitzgerald on the show today. That's the kind of the star power that Jimmy Murphy, man. Jimmy Murphy is the most connected guy that isn't a national reporter. And we're going to make him one here coming up in a few weeks when National Hockey Now becomes, a thing. And I can't wait for that. And when your subscription money gets you access to the entire network. Okay, let me take a look here at the new comments. When Teddy comes back, who sits? Jacob thinks Boyle sits, but I would sit Simone. Well, look at Simone's he's just a little rugger. I mean, look, Malkin handed him the helmet last night. Or Thursday night. Yeah, that's last night, depending on when you're watching this. The team likes Simone because he does so many of the little things. Who sits? That's really a tough call. It's easiest to sit Boyle. It's just easiest. However, if you put Boyle on wing, then you do sit Simone or Zach Aston Reese. Aston Reese is such a defensive guy. I mean, you just don't get one past him. He always has his man. The puck is always coming forward. Do you sit Danton Heinen? And bump Aston Reese up to the third line? Probably not. I'm spitballing here, yeah. It is probably Simone, although an outside chance of Aston Reese to see how it goes. Kind of a terrible contract year for Aston Reese. I mean, 9 goals last year in the shortened season. 1 goal this year. You're almost like just Zach, just get to the net and let it hit you. But he's a mile away from a goal. I mean, he really has to start focusing a bit on offense here. Arav, why is everyone talking about the refs? I couldn't watch the third period in overtime. Oh, geez, Arav. Because Chris Letang and Vincent Trocheck got into a little scuffle and Letang got a penalty in overtime. It could have been called, coincidental minors. The refs gave Letang the minor penalty for a couple extra whacks, and Letang just barked and barked and barked and barked after the game at them. Crosby was shaking his head. I think Mike Sullivan had a few choice words as well. Czar has some great game. Listen, I like Zach Aston Reese personally. I like his game. He has more to give, and I think that's being fair. Zach has more to give, but he's so focused on making sure that line doesn't give up any goals. He's so focused on on his defensive roles that he almost just blows off the offensive zone. That's kind of a bad thing. That's not what you want from this guy there. I guess that's an old picture because I see the 6. I see the 46. Do I have a better picture of Czar? There. That's from last week, I do believe. And we've got these guys. I think I'm emptying the cache here. You're all going to have to pick me up a little bit because I don't really want to dive into the NHL trade deadline at the moment. I thought John Marino played pretty well on Friday night. Don't you? I thought he was really physical. I thought he was on his defensive game. And the Penguins are just going to have to continue to find offensive substitution for Mikey Matheson. They're going to have to, be it Mark Friedman or Chad Ruedel stepping forward just a bit more. Someone has to take that mantle. I guess it's not going to be John Marino. I don't know if that's good or bad. I honestly don't know. I think this being his 3rd season, I think we're seeing John Marino's water level. He's not the guy he was as a rookie who just got on this amazing roll and was unstoppable. Some of the more optimistic, we're talking about him being an heir apparent to Chris Letang. Last season, some of you were wondering if he should be in the NHL. I think as a solid, steady, perhaps unspectacular second pairing defenseman, that's where John Marino fits. You can pop him in second pairing. He can play a lot of minutes as a third pairing guy. And that's not such a bad career to carve out for yourself, especially being a 6th round draft pick. That's a win if you get a 6th round draft pick and that kind of production. Let's see here. Jacob, I was more upset about the no call on the Rodriguez trip. Saw the replay once or twice, thought it was a call, should have been made, taking out. Yeah, I did notice that too. But that was kind of in the... They really were letting them play. There came a point when the refs said, okay, you guys go ahead and decide this yourselves. Obviously, you can't just be whacking each other with sticks like it's the War Memorial and Jim Carr screaming, "This is hockey!" You have to kind of back up a little bit. Okay. I guess we have to dive into the NHL trade deadline. I've broken down the Penguins game, what they didn't do. If you want me to go over it, just pop on the comments there, and I'll happily re-dive into the X's and O's. I was talking with Adrian Dater of Colorado Hockey Now today, and we were kind of commiserating. I can spend 1,500 words chalkboarding and explaining what the Penguins did well or what they failed to do, really giving somebody an understanding into the insights and intricacies of the game, and it gets about that many readers compared to if I write something about, oh, they should look at this trade, or, hey, look, this player took pictures with his dog, and the readership is that much. Welcome to the democratized media world of 2022, when you all get a say on how we cover the team. I'm not going to stop doing the analysis, the insights, and all of that. It's just kind of funny that all of us old hockey writers, or I'm kind of a new writer but an old media guy, lament the old days. In fact, if this were the old days, I would have knocked out my post-game, went and done the post-game interviews, put a few quotes in the story, and hit the bar. That's not a bad idea, is it? Maybe we should go to the bar. Let's do the NHL trade deadline stuff. If the Penguins are kicking tires on players like Delorier, Zach Sanford in Ottawa, I wonder, what about Mark Friedman? We don't really know what's wrong with Mike Matheson. I was even talking to some people close to Matheson, and they didn't know. Like, one of his friends said, wait, why isn't Matheson playing? I said, wait, I guess you haven't talked to him this week, have you? Matheson is on IR with an upper body injury. So it really kind of came out of nowhere. How serious it is, I don't know. The fact that they put him on IR retroactive to the 24th, I'm not sure what kind of salary cap implications. I gave up on trying to figure out the salary cap with the COVID and all of that stuff a month or 2 months ago, because it really is so difficult to do this year. So there's so many little hidden nuances. Well, this player didn't play for a week, so that's $35,000 here, and this player actually came off COVID protocol a game early, so there's $50,000 there, and I'm glad I don't have that job. Let's just put it that way. But Mark Friedman, as well as he played in Tampa Bay, I thought he was pretty quiet against Carolina. That's probably a good thing. A defenseman on the third pairing, if he's quiet, that means he didn't make mistakes. That's probably a good thing. Obviously, the fight at the end of the game, taking on Trocheck, that guy's just a little bit crazy. He's just got a little screw loose, and I think we all love it. I think we all love him for it. I'd rather see him be a bit more active in the offensive zone, play that game, than the craziness. Maybe he'll settle down and get back to that. You're just never sure. When a guy feels like he's being rewarded for doing one thing, sometimes they go too far. And there's always that compare contrast. And look, this was game 32 of Mark Friedman's NHL career, and he's, 25, 26 years old. So he doesn't have a lot of experience. I tend to think, though, that if the Penguins go shopping for a defenseman, it will be somebody of note. It will be somebody who moves John Marino back to the third pairing. It will be a Josh Manson type that they'll pony up for. Jeff Petrie is coming off the trade market. He's actually, like the rest of the Montreal Canadiens, having a blast with Marty St. Louis behind the bench. There's an enthusiasm in Montreal right now. I kid you not. We opened Montreal Hockey Now November, late October, early November. That's when we opened it up. Having covered the playoffs last year, there's almost more enthusiasm for this 31st placed Montreal Canadiens team now than there was for the playoff run last year. Because no one expected it. Even the Canadiens fans thought they were going to lose every round. But now there's nothing to lose. And it's everything to gain, and they're having a blast up there. Jeff Petrie is kind of walking back thoughts of asking to be traded. He's kind of like, hey, this is kind of fun. I could hang out here. Now, whether or not Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes honor that, or if they decide to really cash in, because Petrie is going to have a ton of value on the trade deadline. John Klingberg going to be a free agent. Chris Letang going to be a free agent. Those guys really aren't available. Maybe Klingberg, depending on what Dallas thinks their long-term prospects are. Maybe Jim Nill, or I guess Jim Nill's not the GM anymore, but maybe what Dallas decides to do is get something for him. In that case, that would upset the apple cart in the trade market. But otherwise, Jeff Petrie is the premier right-hander on the trade market. He's going to get a first-round pick, I think. Although we were initially told it was a second and a really good prospect. Maybe that price has gone up. as the trade market gets stingier and stingier. I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder. All right, so I've now done, how many minutes have I done here? 35 off the cuff. Now it's your turn. Hop on that little message board there, and let's have a good old chat. Because that's what we do with these sorts of crazy things. So you're gonna have to look at Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin here until I decide. Actually, I made coffee and it's sitting about 10 feet away. So you're all gonna think of questions for me. This is how this works in the media world. We're sitting there in the media room. We're not quite sure who's coming these days. Used to be when you walk in the locker room, you look around and grab a couple guys that you wanted to talk to. Now the team decides who you talk to. And you might have like 30 seconds to think of a question. Some people have like their stock 3 or 4 questions. What did you see on that goal? Or, how did this feel? How did that feel? I always try to get into the nuts and bolts a little more. I'm not sure if you like it. I'm not sure if they like it, but to thine own self be true. So I'm going to grab my cup of coffee. You're going to start firing questions away. 3 seconds. Time me. I always forget my coffee, and now it's cold. And I wasn't going to nuke it for you or make you wait while I nuked it. All right. Since you got no questions, I do believe that draws to a conclusion. I've given you an exclusive. I don't know how serious the Penguins are talking to Ottawa. It might have been a cursory kick the tires. It might have been just a scouting to see and a discussion. You're never quite sure. There's about 5 or 6 levels to a trade, from looking at another team that you think might have him available, discussing it internally, taking a look at some film, then you go scout him, then you call the GM, you kick the tires about everybody else but that one player, then you circle back to talk about that one player if you liked the scouting report, if you liked everything else, the video, the scouting. You get an answer you don't like. You say, okay, well, keep me in mind. You hang up the phone, you call 30 other teams. You come back and say, hey, I was talking to some other people here. I really think the market is this on that player. And that GM says, well, I don't care what the market says. This is what I want. You hang up the phone, you call 30 other teams. You go through the same process, you come back. That GM has probably gone through the same process with other teams. This is why trades take forever. Sometimes they can take 12 months, 18 months. I mean, how long did Jim Rutherford covet Nick Bjugstad? And then kind of the apple of his eye became Jared McCann, and he gets Nick Bjugstad tossed in after 18 months. This is how it goes at the NHL trade deadline. So the other GM either talked to some other GMs who said, oh no, hold to your price, or he gets a better offer, or all the offers are down here. And so the other GM's like, well, I guess I can let him go for something down here, plus just a little bit to make my ego feel a little bit better. And that is how it goes. There is getting to be enough of a book on the stagnant trade deadline. We've had enough trades now where we can kind of see what the new normal, what the new values are. It used to be even a third pairing stay-home defenseman who wasn't going to stick around long, not going to add a whole lot to your team, would go for a 2 and a 5. Think of Hal Gill and who was Crankshaft, Douglas Murray. That was about the price on those guys. Now you're seeing a defenseman depending on his salary. If a team will eat salary, the price goes up, a first or second round pick. You might even get a couple picks if you eat salary and a prospect. The calculus has changed ever so slightly, but just enough where we have to look at like the last 2 years really to get a trade deadline baseline on prices. All right, John. Gino was a force in Tampa like old times. Galani wasn't a force like new times. Yeah, that's pretty well true. I don't know what to tell you. Game to game, right? Look, the Penguins were not going to duplicate that Tampa Bay performance. Not 24 hours later. That's just almost impossible. I think the one thing, the regret for the Penguins after Friday night should in fact be that they changed their style. They got that beautiful rush goal by Crosby. The tic-tac-toe, 4 passes, boom, up ahead to Rust, ahead to Gensel, takes it low, in the slot, Crosby, done. That's textbook. Instead of taking the puck low and continuing to play down in the trenches, they kept trying for that rush. They kept trying for that controlled zone entry and that pretty play, that one pass to spring a player. I mean, how many icings did the Penguins have tonight? Had to be a dozen, right? Had to be a dozen. That's because they were trying to send one player up and stretch pass and do those sorts of things. I didn't think they needed to do that. I thought in the first period especially, they showed what they could do with tight puck support rather than the loose tight, the loose support. You began to see a lot of cross ice passes. The Penguins trying to take advantage of Carolina overloading. So cross ice pass, try to change the flow. Carolina would then just move over and trap the puck carrier, and away Carolina went with a turnover or a steal or whatever it might be. I think that will be maybe what the Penguins kick themselves for on Saturday or Sunday. So that is all. I appreciate y'all hanging out on a Friday night. I'm going to get back to the keyboard. We'll have the report card for the morning. Also, a bit more analysis for an off day. And it'll be like 68 degrees tomorrow. I'm actually taking the motorcycle to get oil changed and tires on it. Get it ready for the season. I'll see you out there. Have fun. I don't know how to stop it. There, I found out